I will not let the dominant culture define my beauty, my power, my sex appeal as a woman of color careening through middle age.
Growing up, Sophia was prepared for a certain future.
I was born and raised in Vancouver, proud child of Korean immigrants. My father, God rest his soul, was a math professor, my mother a librarian, and I was definitely supposed to follow suit.
But when Sophia was in high school, a rap song forged a new path.
I heard The Message by Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, and it changed my worldview, frankly. There was a sense of urgency and poetry and storytelling and anger and pride, and I think that resonated with me because having been called all sorts of names and having been felt othered, I had a sense of rage about that.
Inspired, Sophia moved to New York City when she was 22, and after hustling in the music business, went on to manage some of the members of the Wu-Tang Clan.
I have this broad rejection of my culture and my heritage because I'm embarrassed or ashamed. And then I'm embraced by hip-hop, and then I meet Wu-Tang. They introduced me to Kung Fu movies. I got to see my culture through their lens.
In exploring her roots, Sophia ultimately learned that she wouldn't allow others to decide who she could be.
I want people to understand that my story is unique and my voice is powerful, and that I deserve to be heard, and I need to be heard, not just for me, but to crack open the country's imagination on what I can be. Asian, immigrant, woman, over 50, single mother. See me.
We see you, my friend. Sophia is telling her story in her audiobook. It's called The Baddest Bee in the Room. I'll just say that. She joins us now. I can see why. We feel it
just
already.
Looking at you.
Yes.
I just feel it.
Right? What is the takeaway? I think I kind of know where you're going here, but to be that kind of a woman, what is the takeaway?
I think the takeaway is that you want to be fearless. And you want to try to be as confident as possible. I mean, essentially what I was doing with my memoir is I wanted to encourage women, but people in general, to mind their power and see their own beauty. And, you know, I understand what people might think that the title means. It is not about being competitive, though. My hope is that every woman, and frankly, every man, can see themselves as the baddest bee in the room.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, growing up, what was it like for you? I mean, here you are trying to basically assimilate and become a certain way and push yourself away from your culture.
Absolutely. I mean, growing up as the child of Korean immigrants, it's a very specific, it's a unique experience to be the child of immigrants of color, right? So my parents don't speak the language, they speak English with an accent. Our food smells different, we look different. And so I did have this desperate desire to assimilate and frankly to be white. And it was tough. I had racial epithets hurled at me, and it was a matter of finding my way in a world that constantly made me feel other.
You had to find a way to get comfortable in your own skin,
yes.
It sounds like.
And it took a long time.
I want to go back to something you said there in this story. Dylan and I also love Wu-Tang. Yeah. How did they help you identify? What was it about their music that helped you see your culture through their lens?
Well, first of all, Wu-Tang Clan are named after Udang, which is a mountain in Hebei province. And then they named their home borough of Staten Island, they name it Shaolin. And their whole ethos was grounded in martial arts movies and Asian culture. So when I meet them, I'm still kind of broadly rejecting my culture, but then through their chamber, so to speak, I discover Kung Fu movies, I discover John Woo and Chow Yun-Fat, and it's through their lens that I see the power and the beauty of my own culture.
That's wonderful.
So how has this experience affected how you parent your kids?
Teenagers, right?
Teenagers, big, grown, giant teenagers, 17 and 19.
Oh,
I think, you know, yes, I call myself kind of the bridge generation. So my parents emigrated. I move here, and then my children will be the first ones that are fully westernized, right? And so there are things that I've lost. I don't speak the language anymore. I can't really pass that on to them. But there are also things that I've gained. So I think I'm constantly saying my name is Sophia Chang, and I was raised by Wu-Tang. And so that's also about how they gave me permission to be angry and to express that anger and to really live as fulfilled as I can and to be the truest version of myself. And I get a lot of that from hip-hop.
I hope you give that to others, too, I think, when they read this.
I hope so.
I think they will. You can get Sophia's audiobook on Audible.